This edition of the Z-Files is being heard on Saturday morning, this Saturday in June, when there's a major event going on right here in Crestview. That's part of a national North American event. In amateur radio world, we call it Field Day. And amateurs get together at places, usually in a field like the one we're in right out here at the corner of Webb Street and First Avenue East, just a little bit to the west of Highway 85 North. I'm going to talk first with Ron Mon, KI5F. All of us have call letters. That's part of how we are identified. We are licensed amateur radio operators. Each has a distinct personal call. Sometimes those call letters have special meanings to the amateur, and we'll maybe hear about that. Ron, tell us what Field Day is and who the North Okaloosa Amateur Radio Club is.
Well, thank you, Cal. The Field Day is an opportunity for ham radio operators around the country to get out and test their emergency capabilities, to try new things in amateur radio they've never tried to do, and also just a good opportunity for us to get together and enjoy some fellowship time together. Covers the gamut.
Now, what are the hours this event takes place?
Well, we're going to actually be on the air about 1 o'clock, but we'll be setting up earlier on Saturday. Right. Sorry about that. And we'll be actually out here in the field about 9 o'clock on Saturday morning here at Webb and First Avenue. We'll start setting up antennas. We'll start setting up the Emergency Operations Center portable trailer. Get a good opportunity to see what the county is ready to do for you in the amateur radio world. And we'll continue operations until about 1 o'clock on Sunday. Okay,
so folks, if you want to get a chance to find out what amateur radio is, you can even get a chance to talk on the air. You want to come out and join this event on this Saturday. Daniel, KK4VAX, I believe you're now the activities guy trying to put all this together.
Oh, yes, sir. Thanks a lot, Cal. Yes, we do this every year, once a year, in the month of June. June 24th and 25th, we come out here. We put a lot of extremely hard work into this with the cooperation of the city as well as the local businesses that help contribute to this event to make it possible for us. And we all just come out here, we have a great time doing everything, and the most important thing that we love is getting to fellowship with each other and getting on the air and talking all across the world.
Right. How many members in the club right now?
We actually have exactly 56 members right now, active members that are paid through the year, and everybody pays annual dues every January, and that makes them an honorary member of the North Okaloosa Amateur Radio Club.
Right, and of course, if somebody would like more information, there's a website they can go to?
Yes, sir. The website is w4aaz.org, and our memberships is on there. Every information about the club is also on there as well.
A lot of links to a lot of good amateur radio stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Craig is WDQ rather.
Yes, sir.
Craig, tell us your full name and where you live.
My name is Craig Ross Young. I live in Crestview, north end of the city.
And how did AM radio get to be part of what you do?
I've always had an enjoyment in radios, and since 2012, I've involved myself as much as I can in amateur radio, mainly in the high frequency realm and emergency services.
Why should somebody come out here this Saturday?
They're going to see a lot of different things going on, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to learn what radio is really all about. This isn't a bunch of old men, a bunch of nerds getting around playing with radios. We're actually providing a needed service for our community and for our state.
And of course, if there's an emergency, the amateur radio guys, like this shirt I got on, one of the older ones, if all else fails, amateur radio is there working.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. I'm going to move over and chat with another one of our guys here. We got quite a few guys to talk to in the club. Steve, KJ4RWD. Now, some people have their call letters mean something. Did you pick those letters, or are these the ones Uncle Sam gave you?
No, these are just ones that come out of from the FCC.
Okay. How long have you been an amateur?
About 5 years now.
And what types of amateur activity do you do?
I do a lot of digital work on the HF and also on the VHF and UHF, talking to the local guys here.
Right. We have what's called a repeater. In fact, several of those things. If you're ever on Highway 85 North and you know where the Azteca restaurant is, there's two tall towers that both have cell phone antennas on them that belong to Whitaker Communications. And ever since the Ham Club started, when a fellow named E.Y. Mock and a few others got it going, and that's why the call letters are W4AAZ. Kind of they did that to honor Mr. Whitaker, his WAAZ FM, because he donates the space on those towers for the antennas and the building and all that kind of stuff that makes those repeaters work. And they're important because you transmit with a, and we'll show here in a minute, little hand radio thing. That repeater unit hears it and sends it back out, and somebody else far away can hear it.
Yes, and with that handheld, you can be just about anywhere in the county and talk to about anywhere else in the county, which is a great thing, especially for emergency communications.
Right. And you mentioned some of the digital stuff that we do, and you do. Some of it connects through that repeater to the internet, and you can talk to somebody. You can have one conversation going with people in 4 different parts of the world.
Yes, well, last night I was on a digital voice mode and was talking to Australia, so I guess you can go anywhere.
Talking with Mike, KK4LLS. Mike, tell us how long you've been a ham.
I've been a ham just over a year now.
Okay, what got you interested in amateur radio?
Well, just I think just the emergency operations side of it, kind of helping out other people.
Okay. And what do you do? Much operating? You on the air much?
I'm on the air usually every day.
Okay.
Every day, unless I have something other than something that keeps me from it. But usually I'm on it.
So was this your first field day, possibly?
No, actually, I was here for last year's field day.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to this year, where I actually get on the air a little bit more than I did.
Good. Well, again, folks, the reason I'm doing this, and you're hearing it on Saturday or seeing it on my Facebook page or on YouTube, you're watching it that way, is so you will get interested enough to come out, particularly on Saturday afternoon, early evening, into the evening hours, and there'll actually be some of the folks who will keep the thing going all night long if they can hang in there and still be communicating. And the whole operation is they'll be operating on emergency power with antennas they've just put up that day, just like it was an emergency situation. Just like the hurricane we just didn't get to have. Cindy stayed a good girl and only was a tropical storm, but still gave some areas of our part of the country a little bit of something to do with all that good rain. But we look forward to seeing you and all the folks out here this Saturday.
Thank you. I hope to see a lot of people here. It's a very good hobby.
A lot of the members of the club now have club shirts that have the NOARC, an NO, North Okaloosa Amateur Radio Club logo on it, and their names and call letters. Tell us your name and your call letters.
My name is Andrew. My call sign is KM4SRN.
How long have you been an amateur?
Just about a year now.
Okay, were you here at last year's field day?
No, I just missed that.
First field day?
Yes.
Well, that's a good thing, good experience to have your first one to get you started. So what are you looking forward to happening? What are you going to want to do this weekend?
Well, trying I've never done HF radio before, so which is long range. I've only done local area, and just see how far I can contact.
Good. Well, we look forward to you being out here, and folks, come on out and just talk to all of these guys and ladies. We have lady amateur radio operators as well. Sometimes it's a family thing. Husband, wives together get amateur radio licenses, and sometimes the youngsters in their family become ham operators. We're going to keep on moving and talk to some more of the guys here from the North Okaloosa Amateur Radio Club. Have a good day Saturday.
All right, you too.
N4GXX is the license plate. Many amateurs, my car, many of us have a ham call letter, like all the different specialty license plates you can get in Florida. And so somebody sees us, law enforcement especially, they recognize, oh, that's an amateur radio operator. We need to get them through sometimes in cases. And one of the guys in our amateur radio club who is responsible for coordinating activities during emergencies is our emergency operations guy for Okaloosa County, and that's Steve Strum, N4GXX. And how long have you been a ham, by the way?
Oh, I want to go back to 82.
Okay.
Had to upgrade my Air Force. I was going overseas, so I wanted reciprocal privileges while I was working over in Europe. Got back to the States and developed an interest in emergency communications. Worked with emergency communications when I was stationed at Avon Park Air Force Range, Central Florida. I also had the additional duty hat as a disaster preparedness NCO, so the two kind of melded together very nice. I could sit with the radio and talk to the civilians, and I had the other radio to talk to the military.
Now you're wearing a microphone. Show them the unit that's on your side there. We can pick it up, or they can pick it up in the camera in front. Now this is what we talked to. Some people would have called that a walkie-talkie at one time. It's an HT now, a portable ham transmitter, and sometimes and these are, of course, usually on high frequencies with the little short antennas. But with this, you can communicate in several different methods, both voice and data, and through the repeaters, or to another person in their car or in their handheld.
Absolutely. We also have digital voice capabilities. We have several modes that have that. This one, with the right microphone, I can take a picture of a disaster site, and I can send it back to the Emergency Operations Center or the EOC.
And you also maintain a pretty good, you're one of several that have pretty good weather websites you maintain as well.
Yeah, and for gxx.org, it's the weather in my backyard.
Okay, and whatever's happening in this part of Florida.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But you'll get all the readings that are basically 1 minute old if you go to that site.
Good. And if somebody is curious about ham radio, they should be coming out here on this Saturday during this weekend and checking out what it's all about. Absolutely,
because this weekend, the whole ideal field day is to set up as we would in a real emergency when all communications were down. At that time, we'll be setting up in the field. We'll be working under emergency operations. We'll be working with off of generators or batteries, what have you. We will not be using commercial power, because in a real emergency, such as a hurricane in our area, that's not going to be available.
Great. Well, Steve, we thank you for being here. And if we get weather like this Saturday, I got it cleared out for this afternoon so we could do the video out here in the daytime. Now, you got to take care of the rest of the week.
That's not my job. That's National Weather Service over in Mobile.
Maybe we're okay. Maybe Cindy has moved out of the area. Okay, we're going to get to some more members of the club here in just a moment. Scott Moneypenny lives up in the Laurel Hill area, and he's kind of an active guy. He's an amateur radio operator. He's a city council member, and he's also, I believe, now the president of the Okaloosa Municipal...
The League of Cities.
League of Cities for Okaloosa County.
Yes.
When do you have time left for ham radio?
When I'm mobile. When I'm mobile. That's the way I get it, is when I'm mobile. I have a radio in the truck and use our repeater quite a bit.
Okay. How did you get into amateur radio?
I started back in the early 90s. I was at a base in California called China Lake, and I was in a mountain rescue group. And we had a bunch of amateur radio folks that supported our repeaters in the Sierras, along with the ELPers for downed aircraft. And with dealing with it in the military, I was like, well, this is feather in my cap that I can learn from. So I got my ticket, and since then I was young and could take the repeaters to the top of the peaks and drop repeaters. I really enjoyed it.
So what kind of stuff do you do here hometown wise and with the ham club?
With the ham club, wife and I just recently got involved with NOARC, and I'm really enjoying it. We're both technicians right now, so our goal is to actually move up general and then potentially extra.
Well, now this weekend you can actually do some general radio frequency operating, as long as we've got some of the higher class licenses on premises, so you can get a feel for what it's like to either do CW or talk to somebody on some of the what we call the long distance frequencies.
Absolutely, and that's again one of the reasons for participating in Field Day.
I mentioned that sometimes amateur operators get special call letters they want. In my case, my license, when I got my license in '54 as a novice, was WN9GMH, and then when I got relicensed back 10 plus years ago, I picked out W4 with the GMH for my case. We have a guy in our club who has been a state trooper and all that kind of stuff, and he is N6 cop, COP, and we've got a fellow here who's got a neat one, W4 CPD. So where does he work, I wonder? Tell us why you got CPD on your call.
Yeah, well, I actually just retired from the CPD. I've been with the auxiliary for 9 years, and that's kind of what got me interested in ham radio to begin with. Was I saw a NOARC down there on Main Street all the time, wanted to be able to communicate with them, and so that's kind of what got me into it. But just finally retired from CPD.
Okay, and this is ARRL Thames who does that. Now that's one thing we should mention that this amateur club does, is they do practice exercises by volunteering for various community events, the Christmas parade, almost all of the parades that go on downtown, some of the different races and special events. The amateurs are there to point communications out from place to place to place and keep track, and if something ever happened, they can immediately communicate, hey, we need a stretcher or need an EMT or whatever to come here right now.
Right, absolutely. And you know, that's one of the benefits of having communicators, you know, for these special events. You never realize how bad you need communication till you need communication. And having the NOARC members available down there has always been critical to the success of those events. Being able to relay information quickly and efficiently, because you can't always hear a cell phone, you can't always get in touch with somebody you need to like that. So having the ham radio operators down there has been key.
Fantastic. So how long have you been an amateur now?
Actually, just since July of last year. Okay. So less than a year. This will actually be my first field day. And like I said, I got into it initially for the emergency communication side, but once I got into the hobby, found out there's so many different facets of the hobby. You've got digital methods. I'm in IT as a full-time job. Being able to experiment with D-Star and all these other methods that you can talk to people around the world with just an internet connection and a ham radio. So there's so many facets. You'll never get bored in this hobby.
You can even bounce a signal off the moon and back if you want, or talk to the every astronaut does have an amateur license. There's a full operating amateur station, and there are times I set up schedules to talk, and then we can talk to other satellites that are circling around, and through that satellite back down to someone somewhere else. So whatever kind of thing you think, oh, amateur radio, that's old-timey, folks, it ain't your grandpa's ham radio. I mean, we have some very sophisticated equipment we can use, and some real basic simple stuff. So it's a fun hobby, and yet you're then available to be part of when an emergency is there, to be able to communicate.
And like I said, for the younger guys like me who are interested in the computer side of that, there's so many different things available now. They have these hot spots that you can use to get on, using an internet connection to bounce off repeaters, and there are so many different facets of the hobby. And I'm actually going to have some of that out here with me at Field Day it'll be today, this Saturday. And so feel free to drop on by and see me. I'll be able to show you some of the additional digital ways you can communicate.
Great. So folks, the purpose of your hearing this on Saturday morning or seeing it on the YouTube before then is to get you to come to Field Day. It's here at the corner of Webb and First, East First. This is where First Avenue is still, even though it is west of 85, it is still East First Avenue until you get down to Maypoles. That's the old dividing line of the city from way back when. Now, if you don't make this event, you can go to the website for the amateur club, w4aaz.org, and get all kinds of information, find out where the club meets. They have a station set up and a club meetings down at Live Oak Baptist Church down at the south end of the city. Someday, this piece of land that we're on will hopefully have a building sitting over there and antennas permanently here. A couple of members of the Ham Club had the foresight to get this piece of land. Now, for you folks who are old-timers in Crestview, you're going to remember where Hervis and Lucy Ward lived from the time they were newlyweds until he eventually bought his farm out on the edge of town. And this is where their home site was. And, of course, the house was down and the property was cleared and was for sale a couple of years ago. And the members of the club have come out and done all of this clearing and getting it ready, not only for this event, but for the day that comes when they raise enough funds and get some donations to build a permanent club and community service thing right here. So, Ark, I hope we have a good crowd out on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We've been trying to push it on the social media side as well to get some interest there. But yeah, we'd love to have anybody that would come out. All of the hams that I've ever met are super nice fellas and ladies. It's not just for men; it's for women too. We've got hams that are women as well. And come on out and see us. We'd love to be able to talk to you and tell you a little bit more about ham radio.
Okay, of all the members of the North Okaloosa Amateur Radio Club who are from my vintage, going back into the 50s, I guess, was when we started out. Mine was as a Boy Scout merit badge. I tell the kids at Scout Merit Badge Camp, and I actually went to my very first field day in Field Day 1953. And back then, our job was to assemble the A-frames with 2x4s A-frames and get them up with other guys' help, and then got a chance to get on the radio a little bit. And the bug bites you a little bit. Now, your days go back pretty close to that same era.
Pretty close, same era. I had a teacher in the 8th grade who was a ham, and he taught general shop there and then electric shop in the 9th grade, and that's when I got my license along with about 18 other youngsters. And my first field day was also 1953. Fish camp up on the Pascagoula River, and we had a time, and the bug bit hard, and field day has been my favorite ham radio time of year ever since.
Yeah, my first one was at a Argonne Park, and right over the big fence a half a mile away was where a guy named Dr. Enrico Fermi and his guys were working at the Argonne Research Center for something called atomic energy. But we had some of those guys in the ham club, which was kind of neat. But amateur radio is so multi-faceted. You're one of these guys that has just about every frequency you could operate on mobile vehicle-wise in your vehicle.
I do. The radios these days are much more versatile, far more frequency coverage than the old original radios that we built back in the 50s just to get on the air. And now we talk worldwide, almost at will. We talk all over the U.S. and we've even I have talked personally to an astronaut in the International Space Station. Bill MacArthur was commander at that time, and we had quite a QSO, and that was really enjoyable.
So why should somebody who's seeing or hearing this before this Saturday event actually decide to come out here and see what all this field day is all about?
Oh, I'd invite everybody out to see Field Day. It's an exciting time. If you have a license, we'll get you on the air. If you would like to get into ham radio, it's a great introduction, and you'll find that we're pushers. We do help out when we can help a new person get licensed.
Folks, you've got the invitation, so we want to encourage you all day this Saturday. They'll be out here in the morning just setting equipment up. They will have the emergency communications trailer from the Okaloosa County Emergency Management Office up here, and they'll be using it for some of the operating. You'll be able to go in there and operate and see what that command center can go anywhere, not only here, but anywhere it's needed in the state if there's a place that it needs to be taken to. And you'll also see amateurs operating out of tents, and some may be using some of the stuff in their mobile equipment. So we want to encourage you to do that this Saturday, corner of the 1st Avenue East and Webb Street. I'll show you some video on the screen while I'm describing this to you. If you're on Highway 85 and coming north in Crestview, after you pass Highway 90, when you see the Kentucky Fried Chicken, but before you get there, on the left-hand side there is a BP station, got a lot of U-Haul trucks sitting out there. Turn left onto Webb Street, just go one stop sign and then the next half block and you're right here. If you're on 85 coming south and you get down to where the monument is, that the old timers remember that's where the Confederate flag once flew, but now there's an American flag proudly up there, and there's a restaurant there, and then there's a prescription shop, and you'll see those pieces of video now on the screen. Just turn right there and come one block and you won't miss it. You'll see a gaggle of cars and trucks and pickups out here, and you'll see the people set up in the field, and you can come in, learn all about amateur radio, find out what they're doing, and if you're interested, you might become one of these kind of guys and gals. So that's this special report for the Z-Files 73, and good luck.